Welcome to Hooked by Heather. We're going to make a Goo Boo today. So you're going to need loops and threads, and I'm using Sweet Snuggles Light. To make a magic ring, you're going to need an acrylic yarn, or you can use the chain 2 method because the Sweet Snuggly yarn doesn't like to make a magic ring. You also need scissors, a 6mm crochet hook, some stitch markers and needles, stuffing, and here's a Goo Boo. So let's get started. So I'm going to make my magic ring, but I'm going to go under both loops and then grab my working yarn and feed it through the ring so that the actual magic ring itself is the acrylic yarn. So when I pull on it, it's going to tighten the acrylic yarn and not the bulky yarn. Then I won't have to worry about it ripping off when I'm closing my magic ring. And we're going to put 6 single crochets into the magic ring, and I always mark my first. So that's 2, 3, 4, and 5. One more, 6. So I want to pull my working yarn, but as you can see, the acrylic yarn closes it right up. Now I can cut the yarn because I'm not going to need it anymore. Now we're going to increase in this row to 12 stitches, so 2 single crochets in every stitch. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 11, 12. Our next round we're going to increase to 18, so we're going to do a single crochet in the first stitch, followed by 2 single crochets in the second stitch, and we're going to repeat that all the way around. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So now we're going to do 3 rows of 18 single crochets, and then when we get to the 4th row, that's when we're going to add the arms. But first I'm going to secure my yarn from my magic ring. So I'm going to tie the acrylic yarn in a couple knots, and then I'm going to tie the acrylic yarn with the bulky yarn so that everything's secure and in its place and we don't have to worry about it falling apart. You always want to make sure you secure or weave in your ends, because if you're playing with a plushie toy repeatedly, the stitches can loosen up and open up, and that's the last thing you want, especially if you're selling items. So like I said, we're going to do 18 single crochets all the way around for the next 3 rounds. And then we'll start single crochets in the 4th round and add the arms. So if you want to fast forward or pause here until we get to row 4, then you can do that. I'm just going to be silent for the next few minutes. And if this is your first time to Hooked by Heather, I encourage you to like this video and subscribe. It helps me out for my channel. I also have an Etsy account, hookedbyheathershop.etsy.com, where I sell a lot of different crochet items. When we get to round 4, you're going to do 4 single crochets and then you'll start the arm. But always got to mark that first stitch. All right, we're going to add the arms, chain 4, and then slip stitch into the 2nd chain from the hook and all the way down, including the single crochet that you made. You want to slip stitch into it because otherwise you'll have a gap or a hole from you doing the arm. So just pick up the stitches and slip stitch. Sorry, I'm off camera. And then you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 2, skip a stitch. I realized I was off camera there. And then you're going to do up to 9, chain 4, slip stitch all the way down, including that single crochet. It can get tricky getting these slip stitches in with this yarn. And then of course you want to slip stitch into that single crochet, which is at the very base. And then go immediately, you should have 5 stitches left. That's 2, 3, 4, that should be 18 stitches all the way around. Now you have these little arms and a mouth. If you have any questions, of course, just message me and I'll do my best to answer them. So now we're going to do 18 single crochets around, but when we get to the arms, we want to go behind the arms so that they aren't worked into the round. So you get your 4th, lift the arm out of the way, and then 5th, 6, 7, and you'll have to forgive me. I need to decrease here where the 2 chains are, and I had a heck of a time getting my hook where it needed to go. I must have struggled for a good 2-3 minutes on this, and I'm just learning how to splice, so I don't even know how to edit this out of my video. So just know that even someone who crochets all day on the weekends and every day after work, we still struggle. I think everybody struggles with certain stitches, and slip stitches, decreases, those are my worst enemy sometimes, because the stitches, I have such a tight tension that it's really hard for me to get the yarn through the loop. And usually I have no problem, and I got it, and then it wasn't far enough out, so I had to start over again. And I was like, oh. But just bear with me. I eventually get it. Then we can move forward. Oh. You're probably sitting there done with your decrease going, come on, Heather. What can I say? I'm trying to get it as close to my face as I possibly can so that I can get this slip stitch. See how it just doesn't want to go? I'm going to break my hook. And all this wispy, oh, I got it. All this wispy stuff from the yarn is flying all over the place. So then you want to do 10, 11, 12, 13 right before the arm. Behind the arm will be 14. And then you should have 4 more stitches to get you to 18. And then the next 3 rows are just 18 single crochets all the way around. There should be no more hiccups at this point. And as I'm voicing my video, my air conditioning just kicked on, so if you hear noise in the background, just forgive me. So just pause your video here if you'd like. And we're going to do 3 rounds of single crochet, 18 in total for each round. And I love these Goo Boos. They turn out so cute. I gifted some to my neighbor's daughters, and they absolutely lost their minds. So they make great gifts for kids. I wouldn't go really young. The youngest girls, the girls are over there is 5. But anyone younger than that probably shouldn't have a Goo Boo, because there is a little stress ball in there that can be popped, and there's Orbeez in it. So not only can it become a choking hazard if they get pulled out. Because if you pull hard enough, you can get that stress ball out. It's only like the diameter of a quarter. And it'll also make a mess. There's no water in the stress ball, but Orbeez can be messy. So just use some caution when if you're gifting these to young children. Just make sure they're old enough to play with it responsibly and enjoy it, and not try to dissect the poor thing. But I appreciate you watching this video, and I hope that you can successfully make some Goo Boos. I'll be sure to link the stress balls that I bought from Amazon into the description. And you will also need 12 millimeter safety eyes for this size yarn. If you go smaller with a smaller bulky yarn, you could probably get away with 10 millimeter eyes, but you want them to stand out, so you don't want to go too small. But I have found you can make these Goo Boos with regular yarn. They're just significantly smaller, and I haven't tested out the stress ball in a smaller yarn. I've only made them with bulky yarn. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create some little waves at the bottom. So I slip stitched into the front loop of the very first stitch, and I marked it, and then I did 3 half double crochets into the second stitch in the front loop only. All of these will be front loop only, followed by slip stitch into the next stitch, and then 3 half double crochets into the fourth stitch, so that you get this little wavy pattern at the bottom. But all of these stitches are in the front loop only. Sorry, I got carried away with talking. So it's going to be slip stitch followed by 3 half double crochets in the next stitch, then a slip stitch in the following stitch, and you're just going to follow that pattern all the way around in the front loops only, because you need those back loops in order to decrease and close up your Goo Boo. And I'm really off camera here, still getting used to recording these videos. But again, it's to get the wave, you need 3 half double crochets followed by slip stitch in the next stitch, not into the same stitch. So you do 3 half double crochets into the same stitch, then in the next stitch it's a slip stitch. And again, I can't stress it enough, it needs to be in the front loops only. Otherwise, you'll be in for a treat when you try to decrease on your next round. But after I complete this round of half double crochet clusters, we're going to put the eyes into the ghost, and we're going to put the stress ball and some stuffing in. So I'm going to put a stitch marker into my working yarn loop so I don't lose anything. And you can see I've got some little waves there at the bottom. There's the mouth. And it doesn't have to be very big. Just the 2 chain stitches is sufficient. So now I'm placing the eyes 2 rows up from the mouth, and about 3 stitches apart from each eye. You don't want them too close, but you also don't want them too far away because it looks silly. Here I am playing with the eyes to make sure that they're where I need them. For as many Goo Boos as I make, I should have no issue putting the eyes in. And I'm comparing it to another Goo Boo, which has the eyes a little farther apart, but I like the eyes like this, thumbs up. Now I gotta put the backs on the eyes. I do use safety eyes. I do not glue eyes onto the Goo Boos or use felt. You could use felt to make big empty black eyes, but the safety eyes that are 12 millimeter work just fine. And again, you need to adjust your eye size depending on how bulky your yarn is. If you have a bulkier yarn, you might want to do 14s. So now I'm going to get some stuffing out, because you want to get stuffing up at the top and you want to cover the backs of the eyes, because the last thing you want is that ball getting popped by the backs of the eyes, because they're quite pokey. So now I'm going to open up my little package stress ball. I'm going to do a purple one this time. It's all squishy. And I'm going to squish it down in there. So you want it right behind the mouth. And then you want to stuff behind it and to the sides. And that'll help push it up against the mouth. And if you squeeze it and nothing's coming out, you need to make more room for the little ball so that, there we go, it comes out nice and easy. So now we're going to decrease, and there we should have 9 decreases, because we should have 18 stitches to go around. But sometimes working with this white bulky yarn, it's hard to see all the stitches, and if you miss one, it's fine. This is the bottom of the ghost. As long as you can close it up, then that will work. And what I'm doing, because the stitches are so tight, is I do a half double crochet decrease. So you put your hook into the first stitch, draw up a loop, second stitch, draw up a loop, and then yarn over and bring through all 3 loops. And it just works a lot easier, and you're not fighting these stitches. I find it works really well with bulky yarn. And you can move along much faster than trying to get an invisible decrease going on a part that you're not even going to see. So just do decreases until you get to your stitch marker. And this should be my last decrease. And like I said, if you don't have 9 decreases and you have 8, it's no big deal. So finish stuffing your boo so that you push that stress ball up high enough But don't put the stuffing in front of the ball, just on the sides and behind it and underneath. And you want your plushie to be firm so that when you squeeze it, it actually is easy to squish that stress ball out. Now we're just going to do more decreases to get that hole even smaller. So you can do the front loop. And again, I'm doing half double crochet decreases. Go into the first loop, draw up a loop, go into the second, draw up a loop, and bring yarn over and bring all the yarn through all 3 loops. And if you can't get the first loop and you have to get the whole stitch, it's fine. So I'm just trying to get this last decrease in. So I'm going to do one more decrease. And usually I would slip stitch, but I'm just going to weave in my end real good and hide the bulkiness of the bottom here. So pull your yarn through and pull it tight. Now thread your needle with your yarn. And you're just going to work through the front loop and weave your yarn throughout the bottom to make sure that the hole that was there is closed. I'm sorry, I'm off camera again, so you can't really see what I'm doing. Gotta love these tutorials. Heather, hooked by Heather. I couldn't see anything you recorded. Can you start over, please? No. And as you can see, I had some loops that were loose, so I just weave them in and pull them tight. And then you want to weave your needle and yarn through the body, but you want to avoid that stress ball. I have popped one. It is a pain in the butt to get it out, and to get one in is really not fun. So go in the back where you know you stuffed and just weave your yarn throughout the stuffed portion of the body, and then cut off your yarn. Clean up your mess. This yarn is ridiculous. And we have a completed Goo Boo. Ta-da! Well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video despite my mistakes. Bye. Like and subscribe, please.